This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your me, Louie T? Welcome to lockdown coverage, week number 12 in the National Football League. The Bears taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, the red-hot league's best Philadelphia Eagles, extending their winning streak to 9 games with a 31-3 shellacking of the Chicago Bears to go to a league's best 10-1 on the season. This game was never in doubt, never in question, never close. The Bears, boy, were they bad in this game. This may have been one of the most inept performances I've seen of a John Fox coach football team ever. And this is in every stop. Carolina, Denver, and now Chicago. This team looked ill-prepared. They looked just out of sorts. They didn't look like they had any cohesion. They didn't look well prepared nor coached in this game. They were just thoroughly outplayed. I don't know what it is about these NFC North coaches who think it's a good idea to try really long field goals on the road as if they're going to make a difference. We saw last night Mike McCarthy trying a 57-yard field goal in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. Are you crazy? Up 21-14? What are you doing? Punt the football. Same thing could be said here of John Fox. It's 0-0. You're kicking a 54-yard field goal? What are you doing? It's 4th and 3. What do you think? You're going to win this game 13-10? You're not playing the 49ers. Not playing the Panthers. What are you doing? Go for it on 4th and 3. You're 3-7. What are you doing kicking a 54-yard field goal? You think you're going to win this game 9-6? You need a touchdown. You don't need a field goal. You need a touchdown. What are you doing? Of course, Cairo Santos in their field goal kicking position has been a train wreck this season. Of course he missed. Wasn't even close. Why don't you just go up and hand the Eagles great field position? Why don't you? Stupid. But in any event, Eagles dominate this football game. Enough of the Bears. Carson Wentz was outstanding again, and you can go ahead and wrap up the MVP trophy. It's all his. Another 3 touchdown passes, scrambled and extended plays with his legs like he always does. The Eagles were really sloppy in this game too, and it didn't matter. They would pick a pass off, fumble the ball away. I mean, they were doing all kinds of nonsense. They fumbled 3 times in this game. They did everything they want. They did everything that you could do to possibly make this game close and still won 31-3. I mean, Jay Ajayi rips off a 45-yard touchdown run, fumbles at like the 3, and Nelson Aguilar picks up the football in the end zone and scores a touchdown. I mean, it was that kind of day for the Eagles. Even when they did wrong, they still could do no wrong. And the defense, I think this might have been their most dominant game of the season. Granted, it's the Bears. It's a rookie quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky. There's no offensive talent outside of their backfield. I get it. But still, you still got to go out and dominate the team across from you, and that's exactly what the Eagles did in this game. They gave up little to no running yards on the ground to a dynamic duo in Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. They gave up nothing in the passing game, picked off Mitchell Trubisky twice, harassed him for the vast majority of this game. The Bears found it hard to even pick up first downs in this game. I mean, even when the Eagles would turn it over on a fumble, the Bears would go backwards. I mean, this Eagles defense was stout in this game. They were outstanding. And this was one of those games. This is one of those games where I look at the Eagles from a defensive standpoint. Forget about the offense. We know what this offense is capable of, and the Bears, they're the Bears. But this is one of those games where I look at it and I say, this is a confidence-building game. This is where you can see all of the wins that they've gotten over the life of this season. led to a game like this where they're so confident now that even when they're not playing their best brand of football, they're still dominant because they're confident in their abilities. And that's what winning does. Winning breeds confidence. Confidence breeds winning. I told you, it's a vicious, flavored, delicious, poetic scripture cycle that, when repeated over and over again, puts a team in a position where they feel like they can't lose. And the Eagles are in that frame of mind right now, sort of like the Panthers in 2015 when they went to the Super Bowl. That's the way the Eagles look right now. They look like a team that is playing with the utmost confidence. They feel like they can do no wrong. And this is another performance that smells like a team that is poised for the #1 seed in the NFC and going to be the team that you're going to have to deal with in the NFC if you want to make a trip to the Super Bowl. They've got that kind of swag going on right now, and this is a dominant. They were supposed to do what they did in this game, and that's what good teams do. They do what the Bears did to the Bears. They did what they were supposed to do to a bad Bears football team. And that's what good teams do, what the Bears had done to them in this game. Eagles dominated from start to finish of this game, 31-3. And the most impressive part of this game was the run game. Everybody had their turn. Corey Clement had some good runs. Jay Ajayi had a big run that he fumbled on. But LeGarrette Blount continues to run the football effectively. For as much as I want to remove him from this running back equation, he continues to do a lot with a little. You know, he only gets 10 to 15 carries a game, but he makes the most of those carries. He was dominant in this football game, and he helped carry this Eagles offense to an easy 31-3 victory, along with the other backs in the backfield. The Eagles were outstanding in this game, and man, did they dominate on the defensive side of the football. The Bears are bad. This was arguably the worst performance I've seen from a team offensively all season long. That includes the 0-11 Browns and the 1-10 49ers. I don't, and that includes the 2-9 Giants. And they've had some really abysmal offensive showings this year as well. I don't know if I've seen a team look more ill-prepared in a game than this. Maybe the Giants when they lost to the Rams 51-17. But this was pretty bad. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky looked lost. He had no help. At times they couldn't even complete passes. I mean, this was a train wreck. And I'm a huge proponent of John Fox. I think he's a really good coach. And he does a lot with a little, but it's hard for me to defend him when his team comes out and plays like this. It's hard to defend him when he decides to kick a 54-yard field goal on 4th and 3 from the Eagles' 36-yard line when you're going to need touchdowns to beat the Eagles, not field goals. Hard for me to come to his defense when he's doing things like that. But in any event, they get their ass whooped like they were supposed to, 31-3. Eagles move to 10-1 on the season and inch ever so closer to the #1 seed in the NFC. They've already locked up the NFC East for all intents and purposes. That's their division. It's done. The question now becomes, can they get away? They've got some tough ones coming up. At Seattle on Monday night next week, or is that Sunday night? It's Sunday night next week. After that, I think they've got the Rams coming up, and that may get flexed to Sunday night as well. So they've got some toughies coming up. We're going to see what this Eagles team is really made of because they've had some cupcakes. They've had some nice cupcake games over this stretch. So we really are about to find out what this Eagles team is all about. But another dominant performance for them in this football game. So we get to some comments quickly. John Perez says, I never heard you say one bad thing about the McCaskey ownership in Chicago, but I've heard a lot of Bears fans voice their displeasure about them. Well, a lot of people feel like Virginia McCaskey. Remember, she got upset that one time about how bad the organization was, and she wanted change, and everybody wants – the Bears have never fired a coach in season. Everybody wants John Fox's head on a platter right now. the Bears ownership hasn't been great. They haven't done a really good job of drafting. It's part of the reason why they don't have a franchise quarterback right now. They haven't done a great job of going out and getting free agents. They haven't been the most open team to spending money. You know, part of the reason, and I didn't blame them for not re-signing Alshon Jeffrey, but it's part of the reason why they're in this mess in the first place is because they've been pretty frugal over the life of their franchise, and they haven't done the best job of bringing in talented football players, and that's why they're in a position. I mean, look at the receiver position. Just take a step back for a second and ask yourself, what the hell is Ryan Pace doing at the receiver position? Okay, so Kevin White didn't work. Teams draft first-round busts all the time. Is that any excuse for the receiver position to look the way that it looks right now? I mean, seriously. Dontrell Inman and what's the guy out of William & Mary you got from the Titans like a month and a half ago? I can't even remember his name. But that Dontrell Inman and Kendall Wright and can't think of his name. Do you know who I'm talking about? Are the best receivers you got. That's not good. And I get it. Kevin White got injured, and your number one wide receiver got injured in the preseason. I get it. I understand. I know what this is, but no one was jumping off of a building screaming how good those guys were before they got hurt. So, in any event, this team isn't talented. They're just not. You know, and it's a shame. It really is. And Mitchell Trubisky is starting to suffer because of it, and that's why I didn't want him to play. He's looking like he's regressing. He's not getting better. He's getting worse. This was the worst game of the season I saw for the Bears. This was really bad. Really bad, and it starts with the ownership. It does. But it is what it is. Cloud says, we played a sloppy game with all these fumbles. Was getting a little heated. It was a sloppy game, but you were playing the Bears. You guys knew you were never in imminent danger, even at 0-0. You were never in danger in this game, and that's why you were toying around with them. And it is what it is. I mean, John Perez says, couldn't understand why the Bears didn't recover the Ajayi fumble in the fourth quarter. They looked like they wanted no part of playing in a football game. They had quit by then. They had absolutely quit by then. I mean, that game was crazy because I didn't see the game live. Obviously, I didn't get that game in my market. And thank God. I got the Jets, and usually I'm running away from the Jets and the Panthers, but I am so glad I got that game. It was actually a pretty good game. And they turned the audience of the Eagles and Bears to the Jets game. And we were in the late stages of the third, early stages of the fourth. And I'm like, he's like, we got a new audience joining us, and welcome to the game. It's, 20-18, Jets up on the Panthers. And I'm like, oh, that one must have gotten out of hand. And he said, yeah, that game's 24-3. And I'm like, 24-3? Why are you leaving a 24-3 game? I mean, it can't be that bad, right? No, it was that bad. It felt like 41-3 when they left the game. So I get it now. I mean, that team quit. They never looked like a semblance of a football team in that game. Cloud says, also, I don't understand why Deuce Staley or Doug Peterson won't start Ajayi. He's a lot better than Blunt. That whole running back rotation, I haven't understood it since week 1. So we'll see what happens with that. I think eventually Ajayi will start getting the bulk of the carries, but we'll see what happens there. Cloud says, also John Fox was very predictable. They have to let him go if they want Mitchell Trubisky to thrive. I think they're going to eventually do that in the offseason. And I wasn't a big fan of that at first, but I think John Fox is outgrown his welcome in Chicago. Joe Sharp says, haven't seen too much on the Bears, but don't see Trubisky getting any better. He's not. And it's impossible for him to. This is not a Mitchell Trubisky problem. And I'm not saying he's going to be great, but they don't have any talent. They're not good. And right now they don't seem well coached either. So it's not going to be a conducive environment for him to grow as a quarterback, which is why I didn't want him playing in the first place. But again, he's not going to get any better just watching either. But it's a double-edged sword because, you know, playing and not having any talent and getting your brains bashed in doesn't help your confidence or psyche either. But we'll see what happens. John Perez says, did you see the Firefox logo that the Bears fan was holding at the game? That's an obvious sign of a potential coaching change. Yes, I saw it. There were actually a couple tweets about how clever of a sign that was. Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. Cloud says, if we can get a dub from one of those games, I'll be fine. Preferably, I want the Rams game just in case they have the same record as us. I think we can get both if I had to choose. Yeah. You probably, because the Seahawks have so far to go to catch you, they're not going to catch you. So, yeah, if there was one of the two you would want to get, it would definitely be the Rams. They're closer to you right now. So that would be the one you would want to get just to steer clear. Absolutely. The Paris Weaver says the Eagles only allowed 2 touchdowns this month. Yeah. They've played some pretty bad teams thus far in the month of November. So that always helps. You know, Cowboys without Zeke Elliott, the Bears. I don't even know who the first team was this month. But they were pretty bad, too. Wasn't the 49ers? I think it was the 49ers. Like, I mean, yeah. That's possible when those are the teams. Those are the juggernauts that you're knocking down. So, but I was really impressed with their defense in this game. Like, I'm a joking kid, but this was a dominant defensive performance. And I don't give a damn who it's against. You still got to go out and make plays. And that was dominant. I mean, the Bears didn't even look like an NFL team at points of this game, and it was because of this Eagles defense. Trey McBride. Thank you, Cloud. That's who I was trying to think of out of William and Mary, Trey McBride. I actually like Trey McBride, but there's only so much he can do and help with this Bears football team. John Perez says, I thought the Eagles' touchdown celebrations were pretty creative. That shows how loose and confident they are. Anytime you start talking about touchdown celebrations, you know it's pretty bad. And the Eagles always do a good job. Sort of like the Steelers and the Vikings. When you expect to get into the end zone, you come up with creative things to do when you get there. Eagles have been doing that all season long. So have the Steelers, so have the Vikings. So coincidentally enough, all of those are really good teams this year. When you expect to get in the end zone, you plan to get in the end zone. You plan for what you do when you get in the end zone. It's the teams that don't expect to get in the end zone, that don't have a plan when they get there. So the Eagles have been pretty creative all year long. FBG Tony says the Bears quit on the kickoff. LOL. It seems like it. Xavier Rose says that electric slide was great. That's bad when you get the electric slide put on your head, man. It's pretty bad when they start doing line dances on you, man. Buffalo pregame says, do you think the Eagles would beat the Rams and Vikings? They've played some bad teams, so I'm not sold yet. Do they have the Vikings on the schedule? I know they've got the Seahawks and the Rams. Do they have the Vikings too? I don't know, but we're going to see. I told you, I don't know what to expect from the Eagles. I think they can beat Seattle. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility next week. I think they can beat Seattle. But we'll see what happens. You know, Seattle's vulnerable at home. We saw the Redskins go in there and win. We saw the Falcons go in there and win. You can go into Seattle and win these days. And without the full Legion of Boom, and it's been confirmed, and it's now official, Cam Chancellor's out for the entire season now with the neck injury. They can go in there and win, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think a lot of people want to see what the Eagles do when they get tested. So these next few weeks, when they start playing some stiff competition, will be really telling as to how good the Eagles really are. And are they the team that we think they are at 10-1 this season? So In any event, they dominate the Bears 31-3, get the win, embarrass the Bears, and I think this might be the nail in John Fox's coffin. Look, they can go home next week and beat the 49ers, which they probably will. I don't know the injury extent of the 49ers quarterback C.J. Beathard, but if he doesn't get cleared medically to play and they have to start Jimmy Garoppolo, you could lose next week too. Who knows? Jimmy G could come in and blaze you. In any event, that should be a whale of a ball game next week. Meanwhile, the Eagles will be playing in a hell of a football game next week, Sunday Night Football at Seattle. Dying to see how that one turns out. That should be a lot of fun. Loud environment. Carson Wentz against that defense. Didn't fare so well against Seattle last year in Seattle. Thought they had an opportunity to win that football game. Let it slip through their fingers. But being that he's been in that environment before now, this is his second time, I think Wentz will be a lot more prepared for it this time around than he was last time. So anxious to see how he handles that environment. But in any event, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Eagles destroy the Chicago Bears 31-3. Improved to 10-1 on the season, an NFL best 10-1. Meanwhile, the Bears dropped to 3-8 on the season and seem to be getting worse as the weeks pass. It's going to do it for your man, Louie T. I've got more lockdown coverage coming your way. Colts and Titans next, followed by Falcons and Bucks. So don't you go anywhere. More lockdown coverage to come. I'll see you in a second.